What's up, YouTube? This is Football for TV. All right, so Shaquille O'Neal, Hall of Fame center Shaquille O'Neal, has been making the rounds as far as sports podcasts as of late. He recently appeared on a podcast, and as we all know, he went in on Rudy Gobert, calling him the WOT, or the worst player of all time. They've had their back and forth, but Shaq has a history of being rather critical of the big men that have come after him, in particular Dwight Howard and Rudy Gobert. On the Pat McAfee show recently, they were talking about the most dominant players of all time and how Shaq is in that conversation with Will Chamberlain. And they brought up Victor Wembanyama. Victor Wembanyama is the reigning Rookie of the Year. And dominant player out of France, had a great rookie year. Shaq thinks that he's a great player, but Shaq thinks that his play style will prevent him from being dominant, a dominant all-time player, basically because he, as he puts it, shoots too many jumpers. And this is what he had to say.
I think if he was an inside player at 7'5", and the answer would be yes. But when you shoot jumpers, you're always going to go up and down. Coach can tell you that. But he's a fine player. I wish him well, and I'm just glad after not being in the league so long to still have my name in that category. Well, people always talk about the GOAT. There's too many names in the GOAT. When you're talking about the most dominant, there's only one or two players. And I wanted to pass Will Chamberlain up so bad because I was going to arrogantly say I'm the most dominant ever. I passed him up in championship. I passed him up in points. I don't want to hear another.
Well, you know how I feel about that part. You know how I feel about Wilt, so I'm not going to entertain that part of it. But about what he said about Wemby, right? I want to push back a little bit on what he's saying. I do agree that Victor Wembanyama shoots too many three-pointers. Okay? But a lot of that could be that he's a product of the modern-day basketball schematics, you know what I'm saying? But he shoots way too many threes for a big man. I do agree with that. But as far as him, being like Shaq or playing like Shaq or playing like Will, playing like, bully ball, he doesn't have he's 7'4", 7'5", but he doesn't have the right frame for that. He's 210 pounds? I mean, that's the weight of, maybe a little bit bigger now, but when he came to the league, he was 210, 215. I mean, you got guards who are way more than that. He can't play bully ball. That's not his size, that's not his frame. Like, to put in perspective, Patrick Ewing was 250. Joel Embiid is 280, 290, sometimes 300 pounds. Jokic was as heavy as 285. He's like 265 now. Those guys are much bigger. But Victor Wembanyama, he doesn't shoot as many jumpers as many people think he does. And what's skewing up his percentage, in my opinion, is the amount of threes he's taking. He takes too many. But if you can cut down on the threes and focus more on, I would say, paint or from the rim to about maybe 16 feet out and primarily shoot from that range, in my opinion, his field goal percentage would go way up. But anyway, just to go through his regular season, he played 71 games. He averaged 21.4 points, 10.6 rebounds, 3.9 assists, all right, and 3.6 blocks per game. But the last month of the regular season, he averaged 24.8 points, 12.1 rebounds, 5.6 assists, 4.4 blocks, and 1.1 steals. And if he actually had some talent around him, which will open the game up for him offensively, his percentage would go up even further. He'd be even more effective if he had another star to play with. Take pressure off of him. But I want to make some comparisons here. Look, I want to talk about the top three big men in the league: Joel Embiid, Joker, and Giannis, compared to Wemby. Okay, Embiid, 27% for his career. Now they have a much larger sample size than Wembanyama's one season, but still. With Embiid, 27% of his career shot attempts have come from 3 feet away from the rim and inside. The same for Joker, 28%. Giannis, 49%. That's his game. Giannis is more of an inside player. Wemby's at 29% for that 1 year. So he's comparable to Embiid and Joker from 3 feet on in. From 3 to 10 feet, 20% of Embiid's shot attempts have come from that range for his career. Joker, 34%. And you watch Joker, that's where he loves to shoot. He loves to shoot from that range. Giannis, 18%. Wemby, 20%. So he's closer to Embiid in that aspect. This is the difference and why he's a little bit more. This is an area he needs to improve on. 10 to 16 feet. 22% of his career shot attempts for Joel comes from that range. 11% for Jokic. 8% for Giannis. 9% for Wemby. Wemby's a much better shooter, or at least he should be a much better shooter than Giannis. But maybe he's not as effective from that range. Maybe he's a little bit inconsistent from that range. I'm noticing from 10 to 22 feet, he's a little bit inconsistent. But then again, that makes sense because a lot of these guys today, they either dunking the ball or they're shooting threes. He's improved from that range. 16 from 22 feet away, 12% for Embiid, 7% for Jokic, 10% Giannis, 8% Wemby. Now, that's not their shooting percentage. That's the percentage that overall shots coming from that range. Now, this is the difference right here. 3-point shots. 19% of Embiid's attempts in his career have come from 3-point range. 20% for Jokic. 15% for Giannis, which is too high for him. 33% for Giannis. For Wemby. 33% for Wemby. That's too much. Especially when you consider that he's shooting 32% from downtown. So unless he ups that way up to like 37, 30%, even then it still might be too much. Only if he shoots 40% from that range is that sufficient. Now he's 7'5", so you would figure nobody's really blocking his shot, but he's still, man, like Shaq does have a point. You're kind of going to be a little bit up and down shooting like that. That's why shooters have red hot nights, but then they have some nights where offensively they're cold. That's why to be a great player, you got to do other things other than just shoot, which is what Steven Jackson was talking about. That's why, look, if you shoot, hey, if you're a great shooter, like let's say Steve Kerr. Now, Steve Kerr was never a high impactful player, ever started, but when Steve Kerr was hitting his threes, that was huge for Chicago. When he wasn't hitting his shots, he was a liability a little bit, Whereas Ron Harper, he wasn't a great shooter, but Ron Harper's giving you great defense and the occasional bucket. So Ron Harper was more valuable in a lot of different ways. Bigger, more athletic, whatever. I'm talking about when he was with Chicago. But yeah, I agree with Shaq to a certain extent, but I think it's a little bit overstated. And I do think, Victor's going to get a little bit bigger. He's not going to be like Shaq, but I can see him bulking up to maybe 235 eventually. Maybe a little bit bigger, 240. And his thing, I don't know if he's ever going to be an overpowering player like that, but his height should give him a distinct advantage, obviously, his height. But when he's matched up against other big men of the same caliber who have that size, it's going to help him to be able to make shots from outside. It's going to help him. because he's not going to outmuscle Joker. He's not going to outmuscle Joel Embiid. He's taller than him, but he's not stronger than him. So he's gonna have to use like other gifts, like his finesse, quickness, and range. So I agree with Shaq. Like when he's going up against these fours, these power fours masquerading as centers, yeah, that's when he should be more aggressive. Like you see in this picture in the background. But he'll figure it out, and he's going to improve. And you saw the numbers I gave you in the last month of the season. He was starting to play better. He's going to be better, man. He's going to be good. But what they need to do is improve that goddamn team. That's all I got to say about it. You know what I'm saying? Tell me what you guys think.